Hi, I'm Angie Avant. I'm a Canadian indie author and I write feminist fiction. And this year, this calendar year of 2025 was my first full year of being an indie author full time. So I thought I would kind of reflect on how the year went. For all my astrology peeps out there, my birth chart is very, very, very earth heavy. I am a Virgo sun, moon, Mercury, and Venus, and then I have a Capricorn rising. So in other words, I am a workhorse. I'm a workaholic. I'm always completing my task and then moving on to the next thing. And I don't think I take the time to really celebrate those wins every time I accomplish something, because I'm just looking at what the next ridge is. I'm going to take a moment to reflect on everything that I accomplished this first year, even though I haven't hit all of my goals in terms of my book sales and the amount of reviews I want to get for my books. I still got a lot done. So let's take a look at what I was able to accomplish this year. So this year, I released Courage in Capital City, which completes my Capital City series for the main character, Callista Caldwell. So Consumed and Corrupted in Capital City came out last year in 2024, but I finished the whole trilogy, 3 full novels, this year when I released Courage. In 2020, I released this book under a different title with a different name, but I did go back and I moved Capital City into a completely fictional world. While before in the first book, in the first manuscript, there were some inconsistencies. I used real names of, cities and countries, but then I had Capital City as like this fictional city. So I actually went in and created a whole fictional world, and I changed a few other things before I relaunched it with this new title and for the Capital City series. I feel really good to have completed this. This is something that I had conceived back in 2020, so to actually get it done feels pretty incredible. And then in like 2022 or 2023, I don't really remember, I also came up with the concept of writing Abducted in Capital City, which basically follows one of the other characters, but from her point of view during the entire timeline of this series. So when I completed this, I really truly completed what I had wanted to do when I decided to start writing novels. Also wrote these novellas, these companion novellas for side characters in Callista Caldwell's world. Callista Caldwell is the name of my main character in the Capital City series thus far. And although I wrote these in late 2024, I did release them and format them and do all of that thing. They did come out in 2025. The Fab Four of Capital City came out in around this time last year in 2024. And basically last year was when I decided to expand the world of Capital City. So Callista Caldwell, I finished her series, and she was the original main character that I cooked up in my head. But last year I actually came up with a trilogy for each of the Fab Four of Capital City. So Bridget is a OG influencer YouTuber type. Amy is a human rights lawyer, and Joe is a nurse. So I am planning to eventually give each of them a trilogy. So the Capital City series has expanded to eventually include 12 books plus novellas. I like to give the side characters that are reader favorites their own little stories, dig a little deeper into their stories. So I am planning on doing that. I have put the Capital City series aside to launch the Witchy Women series. So I launched Nexus this past Halloween, which is the prequel for this new series, the Witchy Women series. One of the other accomplishments for this year is I went on 10 podcasts. And they were either like bookish podcasts or wellness podcasts or spiritual podcasts kind of thing. And in those interviews, I really sharpened my skills in terms of being able to talk about my books and just speaking publicly. I talked about how this series, the Capital City series, was a very healing experience for me. Writing this was hard, but also very cathartic because it talks about real world issues. It talks about violence against women. It touches on very serious real world topics. And writing the Witchy Women series, I'm writing it from a healed place. My nervous system isn't fried anymore. I'm in a really healthy place now. And it feels incredible. I think that's why I'm having so much fun with it. I'm coming from a place of wellness, while when I was writing this series, I was really struggling. Like, this series healed me. I'm not being dramatic. The woman I was when I wrote Consumed is not the same woman I was when I wrote Courage. Like, so much happened in my personal life and professional life between Consumed and Courage. It is unreal, and I'm not going to talk about all of that on the internet, but just know that I believe writing can be very healing. I think that's why therapists are always telling you to journal and stuff, but I digress. So that means in 2025, I released all of these. So this new book, Abducted, oh, not that one, Buried Secrets, Brave, and Courage. I released all of these books in 2025. Plus, for the Witchy Women series, I also released an ebook, Fire, which is the first of a 4-part elemental saga that's kind of the bridge between this book, the prequel, and the first book in the series that is called Hammer. So stay tuned for those. They're coming out on the full moon leading up to when Hammer is being released, which is on the blue moon of May 31st, 2026. I am writing Hammer right now, and it is it's so fun. I'm having so much fun. It's actually kind of poetic that I'm launching this new, like the first novel. Yes, I've written the prequel and stuff, but I'm actually launching the first novel of this Witchy Women series on the blue moon because I launched the original version of this on the blue moon in 2020. I don't know if you remember that blue moon on Halloween in 2020. It was fabulous, absolutely gorgeous, but it's interesting. I think I'm just going to have to only launch a new series on a blue moon. Like, that's just my thing now. But going back to the Witchy Women series, launching this series involved a rebrand of my website. And I have a communications background. I actually have designed my own website myself, so I had to redesign it. I created a new space for the Witchy Women series, and then moved the Capital City series into its own little corner on my website. So that was a huge undertaking and a huge project, and I got that done. And the really cool thing about this rebrand was working with my newsletter subscribers. I went from 0 newsletter subscribers to close to 1,000 newsletter subscribers in 2025, which I am so grateful for. And my newsletter subscribers, before, I used to call them the Capital City crew when I just had that one series. And we went through a process of renaming ourselves, and they helped come up with their new name, which is the Undone and Becoming Circle. And I just love it. I think it's so fitting because, you know, the undone part, we're undoing programming of the patriarchy. We're undoing that and becoming our authentic selves. And then the circle part is the community, and it's just so beautiful. And I'm really grateful for my newsletter subscribers. It was very cool to have them like respond back to me and give me their ideas and stuff. It was a very neat, beautiful thing, and I love it, and I'm so grateful for it. So that was one of the really gorgeous things that came out of launching this Witchy Women series. Another huge undertaking, because as an indie author, you're wearing all the hats. So I'm also the marketing manager, and I created over 450 social media posts, and each of those posts, you know, that includes videos, which includes video editing and, you know, script writing and blah, blah, blah. Although I don't really use scripts, if I'm being honest, I just kind of have notes and then ramble, as you can tell, which is why there's a lot of cuts in my editing because of my rambling. That also includes carousels. So a carousel on Instagram, for example, will have more than one graphic, and I'm the one that is designing all of the graphics that are being posted up on social media. Hello, Editing NG here. I forgot to mention the free book club kits that I developed for the Capital City series, including the Fab Four of Capital City, Consumed Corruption and Courage in Capital City. I released an omnibus of the three as an ebook, and Brave in Capital City. I've developed book club kits for all three of those novels, and the book club kits include some questions, some discussion questions to help guide a discussion around some pretty serious topics, self-care after, because like I said, the topics are pretty heavy. Also include some box breathing and a playlist so that you can dance it out afterwards, and a little bit of information about me. And now we're back to our regular video. Oh, taking a sip of water reminds me that I was actually decided to get a little crafty, and I'm not very crafty, and create these bookish cups for various book fairs. I attended 3 different book fairs this past year, and I'm hoping to attend more in 2026. But it was very cool to connect with readers, but also connect with fellow indie authors. I have met some incredible indie authors. They've been absolutely fantastic. I love the indie author community. It's so welcoming. It's so warm. Everyone's very willing to like share tips and tricks and help each other out. It's a fantastic community. One of the other things, and probably my favorite thing if I had to choose, that I did in 2025 was I pitched the idea of an indie author group to the Ottawa Public Library, and they accepted it. So I actually hosted 8 sessions at the Centerpoint branch for indie authors, where we talk about more the business side of being an indie author. And it went from like 2 people showing up at the first session to now the room is full, and a couple of the regulars that have been attending, they actually took on presenting their own segments and sharing their own knowledge with the other indie authors in the room. I just love the community that we're building there. It is the best. I am so grateful. Being a writer can feel very isolating because it's just you and your laptop, right? Or computer or whatever, a lot of the times. So having this group where we can meet and we can talk shop, it's been so fulfilling. It's really filled my cup, and I'm really grateful for it. And I'm so grateful for the people that I've met here in Ottawa that are pursuing the same passion as me. It's been fabulous. I feel so lucky. I forget where exactly. I think I saw a video about it or something, where this concept, this idea of coming up with a theme for the year. It's like your North Star. It's how you align, like when you think about what your theme is, then you come up with goals that align with this theme, right? It keeps you going in the right direction when you have a theme for the year. So for 2025, the theme that I had picked was win. I think partially because around this time of year is when you're applying for awards. So I did apply for a few. I put Corruption in Capital City, I put it up for a few different awards. I also submitted a few short stories for awards. And even though I didn't win any actual awards for my books, I still feel like I won because I set up the routines and built the discipline of a person that embodies winning, of a person that will win. I've been really focused on getting better and growing as a writer, learning as much as I can about the industry and being an entrepreneur. I have been able to use it not only for reaching my goals in terms of my career, but also for my personal goals. I now have the discipline that I didn't have like even 2 years ago because of this idea of embodying a person that wins. What do winners do? They train, they learn, they grow. Hopefully I've set myself up well for 2026. Another way that I'd like to acknowledge my year was a year of winning, the win, was the time freedom that being an indie author has allowed me. I'm a single mom with shared custody, so my Virgo brain, I'm able to organize my life in such a way that when my daughters are home with me, they are my main priority. I'm able to volunteer at their school and go on field trips. I am the boss. I am the master of my own schedule, and I love that. I have family who live abroad. I'm half Mexican, so I have family who they will come up from Mexico, and that I was able to work my schedule in such a way that I could visit with them and just focus on time with my family was fantastic. I was also very blessed to become an auntie to 2 adorable identical twin nephews, and then I also a month later my sister had a little girl, so I have a new niece as well. So again, that I was able to, I had the flexibility to spend some time with my new family members. I am so grateful for that. So I recognize that as a huge win. So in a lot of ways, 2025 was definitely a winning year for me, and I'm so grateful for it. If you want to try out coming up with a theme, I highly recommend it for 2026. I have a theme picked out for my 2026, and I don't know if I want to share it. Do I share it? Okay, I'm going to share it. So my theme for 2026 is to be seen. I'm finally ready to show who I am, my authentic self. I think by starting to post about some of the woo-woo stuff and the moon magic, that is authentic to who I am. That's something that I used to kind of keep hidden. And my plan is for the first installment of the Witchy Women series, it's called Hammer because the idea is that these witches are trying to stop Hammer of the Witches from being written, which it was basically a manual for how to torture innocent people, mostly women, and a lot were tortured and killed. I am actually planning on going to where that book was written, and I'm going to be doing videos, so again, being very visible, very seen. I wrote 200,000 words this year, and that doesn't include the novellas that were written like late last year. That's just writing Courage in Capital City, Nexus, Abducted in Capital City, and the Witchy Women Elemental Saga, and what I've written so far for Hammer, for Witchy Women Hammer. So when I add all of that together, I've written 200,000 words, and I read 24 books this year. I used my TBR bingo card to kind of gamify reaching that goal. I know some people read 24 books in like a week, but for me, reading basically a book every 2 weeks, I'm pretty proud of that. And that I also created like a game out of it. And if you're interested at all in this TBR bingo card, you can download it for free when you subscribe to my author newsletter. I've had a lot of fun with it, and anytime that I got a line, that I got a bingo, I would buy myself a crumble cookie as a little treat, because I live very close to a crumble cookie, so that was my, again, discipline. I have to earn it by reading a bunch of books in order to get that sweet treat. It comes in a package. As I mentioned previously, I'm really into growth mindset and wellness. So there are other options there's a wellness bingo card. There's another bookish bingo card where, there's different, read a genre I don't usually read and stuff like that, or read a Canadian author, like that kind of thing. As well as the blank template where you can physically write in your own TBR list, and hopefully you'll include some books by N.G. Avant on your TBR list. Another thing I'd like to mention is I attended a few industry events, so conventions that are meant for indie authors and the indie author space, like marketing, advertising specifically for indie authors, also your craft and becoming better, investing in myself so that I have the knowledge and the know-how to do better in 2026 is another small win, another celebration that I'd like to acknowledge. So that's my 2025 wrapped up. Again, even though I didn't hit all my goals in terms of books sold and reviews on my books, I still accomplished a lot this year. But hopefully I'm building a solid foundation for a career as an indie author and as a creative. Thank you so much for listening to my summary of 2025 Wrapped, and I wish you a wonderful holiday season and a very prosperous, magical, happy new year. See you in 2026. Love you. Bye.